Hello, so going to be a live stream for probably at least an hour tonight. Obviously I've been working today, so bear in mind that it's a bit later than usual, and it's quite hot at the moment. Yesterday was really hot, well, for UK standards anyway. It was like a 33-degree day where I was. Today's not been as hot, but my room's currently 27.4 centigrade. So, still not comfortable, so if the computer's buzzing loudly, apologies for that, not much I can do, it's just because the fans are being a bit overworked. Evening Daniel, you alright? So I've announced this one on both Discord and the YouTube community thing, so hopefully a fair few people should have known it was on. Streaming should be back to normal this week, as in I'll be streaming every evening, or a different time in the day if necessary. However, bear in mind that tomorrow I might not be able to stream. We'll see, because I've got quite a lot going on tomorrow. So there may be a stream, there may not. I don't actually know yet if I'll get the time to do one. So I won't bother announcing it tomorrow if you see me on. That's probably not the sun, it's probably just eczema, to be honest. Generally with a lot of these streams it seems that you suddenly get a surge of viewers after about a minute or two, because I guess YouTube doesn't send the notifications out evenly. So alright, Shot Zombie. Evening Richard, you alright? Yeah, I'm not bad. Yeah, thank you Vladimir, don't forget to like the stream because that does help out. I don't have any karambits, I've never been all that interested in them, to be honest. I think karambits are still legal under UK law, but it's one of those knives that always seems to get a lot of weird attention, so I don't know if I'd really want to bother getting one. What do you mean, Hunter got mine, but 5 hours behind? What, notification or what? Alright, Peach. Well, bear in mind I bought that watch like several years ago. As I've said quite a few times, the Casio, I've had a lot of issues with it. It worked fine for about a year. When it was out of the year's guarantee, it really started playing up, where it wouldn't find the right time zones, or the battery would keep draining really quickly, and all of a sudden it seems to be working properly again. But I've not used it in ages, but what I'm doing now is I'm making sure I store it in somewhere it's at least going to get a bit of light every day, because obviously it's solar, where when I was storing it in a drawer, I imagine maybe that was why the battery drained a bit too much. Because what's meant to happen if it's in the dark for too long is it basically goes into a sleep mode, and as soon as it's back out in the light again, you know, it kind of wakes up because the battery's charging, but for whatever reason it seemed the battery totally drained at one point and caused a lot of problems. Is that an air pistol one, Peach? I can't remember if you were saying I suppose you mean specific theme, don't you? Not Pacific, as in it's not ocean themed. Not really. As it's quite hot and, you know, I've been working all day. Did acting Thursday and Friday, and then was working this weekend, and it's been quite hot, so I've not got all that much energy, to be honest, but hopefully when I'm in the stream for a bit I'll wake up a bit. So no specific theme, but if people keep saying put on a gas mask, I probably won't, to be honest, just because, you know, as I said, I've not got loads of energy and it's hot. That's cool. Yeah, I assume you bought it then, Ernie. I don't know the specifics of the Microtech, Andy, but the UK knife laws, I mean, it gets a bit more complicated than this, but basically any knife that's got a 3-inch or less non-locking blade is legal to carry without a reason, like a Swiss Army knife. So you could carry this anywhere, maybe not into courthouses or police stations or things like that, but for knives that are sub 3-inch, if you're wondering what that is on there, it's super glue, because I was needing to do some stuff with super glue. Knives that are under 3 inches and non-locking, you can carry on you anywhere. There's no problem with that. Where it gets complicated is like this reasonable excuse thing. So basically, let's say you have any knife that's over 3 inches and non-locking, or a knife of any length that's locking, like one of these. That would be not legal to carry unless you have a reason for carrying it on you. And that's where it's complicated, because this is where it's down to opinions and feelings and not really proper law. So let's say I'm volunteering or working and I have a knife like this on me because I'm doing it for a job kind of reason. That, in the eyes of the law, is completely okay, but not necessarily. Which is why I don't like a lot of the UK knife laws, because a lot of them are down to interpretations and, like, feelings, like I was saying, not whether or not you're actually really doing something. I don't know what you mean by a camp bus, unless you mean, do you mean an actual vehicle? But in terms of, unless you mean camping bag or whatever, but in terms of Alpenflage as a camo, yeah, it's actually quite effective, because as said, the red in it, although it seems quite jarring, when you actually use it, the red isn't all that obvious. It ends up looking more like just a shade of brown. Well, when I say I volunteer, Nardis, I don't mean like I'm a civil defence volunteer or anything interesting like that. I work at an animal shelter and I volunteer. You could fit it over a balaclava bread, but it wouldn't make an airtight seal. Well, this one I've got I really like. I bought off Weapon Collector a while ago. So it has a really good ball bearing flick mechanism, or flip, whatever you want to call it, like, the gravity kind, well, whatever the term is, where you flick it out using, momentum. And it's a Tangram Amarillo, and I think, if I remember right, it's just over 3 inches, and it's a locking knife, liner lock. But this is very good in terms of comfortable, very good blade. It's like one of the good stainless steel ones rather than being cheap stainless steel. But it sharpens up easily, keeps a very good edge, good pocket clip. Another good thing of this pocket clip is the pocket clip is at the very top of the knife rather than being part way down. So if you're using it for the pocket clip, the knife's all the way in your pocket or whatever, it's not kind of half sticking out your pocket like some knives are, so people won't even notice you've got this on you. As saying, with our knife laws, even if you've got a reason for carrying it, you don't want people kind of going, oh, he's got a knife on him, oh, I don't know, that person might be a bit dodgy. Well, as in, if it's a folding knife, it wouldn't be classed as lockable. Right, when I say folding, I mean like a Swiss Army knife, where it folds but doesn't have a lock. So it will close, like, let me show you. So let's say I open my Swiss Army knife. Notice there's no lock on that, because I can basically do that. There's a proper name for these, and I can never remember what it is. If Weapon Collector was on, he'd know. Is it slip joint? I think it might be slip joint. But basically, if it's a knife that... Another example would be, I think I've got it here. Let me show you. Don't forget to like the stream, everybody, because there's currently 34 people on, but only 19 likes. Would be this particular open outlet doesn't have the locking collar. So basically, as you can see, there's nothing holding it open, other than the fact, if you cut the right way, obviously it won't close. But knives like this are what would be considered legal carry folders, because the blades are under 3 inches and they don't lock open. This specific one is actually, the number 5 without the collar is literally designed for markets like the UK, where we have the sort of strange laws that we have. Alright, cool. I've got one of those, Peach, but my one requires quite a fast-moving projectile to swing it. So if I use my, 11 foot-pound odd air rifle, I have to use very lightweight pellets to get it to reset. If I use heavier lead pellets, it won't reset properly. But is it just one that swings? Because I've got another one that's quite good, that's just one where it has a small one at the bottom, no, sorry, a big one at the bottom and a smaller one at the top. And you hit either of them and it just, spins around like that until obviously gravity makes it stop. That's quite fun for just... Because I think the small plate's 1 inch and I think the bigger one's a 2-inch bit. So that's quite good if you're doing 10-yard sort of, air rifle shooting just to see if you're hitting it. What do you mean? Do you mean like an old-fashioned pinfire? Places like D&D Militaria that sell the axe and antiques? Oh cool, what have you rigged it up with, Shop Zombie? No idea what you're on about, thin softer with that. Yeah, the wind out here is quite nice today because it means the heat's not too bad. But the problem is when you're in your house, obviously there is no wind. and I've noticed that either I've got like a bit of eczema spot or something on my face there, or wherever it is. I think there. So that's not a dirty mark on my face. That's, and I don't think it's a shade, is it, from the glasses? I think that's literally where yeah, it's not a shade. It's just where my skin's blemished. Yeah, I've got one like that, Peach, but the annoying thing of my one is that it seems to require like an 11 foot-pound air rifle with very light pellets to do it. So if I use the really cheap SMK Spitfire pellets, the domed ones, that resets it fine. But if I use any of the Bisleys or the like nicer quality lead pellets, it doesn't reset it properly, or doesn't spin it properly, because it doesn't have the energy to actually knock the thing all the way over to the point where it holds onto the frame. Oh, that's cool. So it's actually set up like a proper pressurized like what would you call it, supplied oxygen mask, rather than being a rebreather. That's a lot safer than using it as a rebreather if you've got all the right valves and everything on it. There's stuff like that. I don't know how true it is, because there's lots of, like, the thing is, in certain areas where there's high crime rates, the police do these, like, weapon sweeps to appear like they're doing stuff. So I really wouldn't know. I mean, there's no law stopping you carrying a spoon on you at all. But that doesn't mean that the police, if they want to, you know, wanting to play big boys, and I'm not saying all police are like this, because there are some proper decent policemen, but, you know, policewomen. But there are, you know, obviously some cops that are ones that power trip, and I imagine if you get the wrong kind of cop, you know, being told to do a weapon sweep in one area, they're going to go, oh, I've caught you with a spoon. Yeah, it really depends on the country and the area, because that's saying, the thing is, in my area, is the police have been so far cut that I could walk around, as long as I wasn't brandishing a massive knife on me and, you know, I scared somebody with it, nobody would even know. You know what I mean? So, when I volunteer, I carry this much bigger lock knife, because I'm on private property, I'm using it for a proper purpose, this Ganzo one. So, you know, there's never any question of me doing anything illegal, so I'm going to have no problem with the police, because they're never going to be on site, because unless they're called, they're not going to turn up on site, because it's private property. So yeah, but the thing is, I could carry a knife like that around on me in my area, and unless you're making it obvious, you're never going to get stopped, because there's just not enough police around. And unless you're acting suspicious or something, you know, nobody's going to care. That doesn't mean like I'm encouraging people to do that. I'm just sort of saying there's you know, there's lots of things of laws where something's in a law, but you will never get caught or charged or something, you know, if you do it. Yep, I think all of them shot zombies should at least have pepper spray. And I think, yeah, they should have firearms training. But the problem is in the UK, because they basically, regular police don't carry firearms, you have like nuclear security police that carry firearms, police guarding certain sites that, you know, considered to be security risks that will have firearms, like at airports and things. And then you'll have, you know, like actual armed police, either that are deployed on the streets if there's been a terror incident, or there's, you know, stuff that might go on. Or if, you know, they're called to a firearms incident. They're all firearms trained, but the thing that armed police worry about in the UK is, it probably varies a lot in the US by state and everything, but in the UK, if a cop shoots somebody, they get suspended. I think it's paid suspension, but they get suspended until there's basically kind of like an inquiry done, were they justified, even if it's a non-fatal shooting, you know, at discharging their firearm. And lots of police don't actually want that, you know, even if they were offered a promotion to an armed policeman, or whatever. They don't want to do that because they're worried about all the risks of, even if they do legitimately have to shoot somebody as part of their job, they're, you know, worried about all the consequences. So we actually have a problem in the UK, and I think this has still been an issue, where they can't get enough armed police, you know, with even the people who want to volunteer for it, even when there's jobs going, essentially, because the police are worried that they're going to get in so much trouble if they actually do end up shooting somebody. So it's kind of one of those weird things where, as much as you think it would make sense for all the cops to carry guns, lots of police over here are actually opposed to it. I don't know. I imagine Ministry of Defence police would actually be technically military, wouldn't they? Because like military police and actual police are separate things. Yeah, I don't mind when I see cops on the beat, because in general, when I used to work in the city, if there were police around, you'd get a lot less problems with people, like muggings or people just harassing people for money. That was the reason I ended up wearing stab vest to work and back when I used to work in the city. I thankfully don't need it for my current job. When I used to commute, if you were waiting around a bus stop at the wrong sort of hours in the wrong sort of place, you could very easily get somebody threatening you for money. And again, when there was more of a police presence, that didn't happen. And I've never had a problem with actual police officers, as much as you see a lot of UK police doing stupid stuff you can read about online. I've never actually ever had a problem with police in person, because I've always found, cops to be polite or whatever else. But again, that's just my own experiences. But I suppose because I'm not being rude or anything to the police, they've not got any reason to. But I have seen lots of videos, where people have filmed it, and there's a cop, really power tripping, and they don't even know the laws themselves. Yeah, I mean, in London there are going to have a lot of armed police, because we've had lots of terror incidents in London. The London murder rate is stupidly high at the moment for, stabbings and shootings, so yeah, they do deploy a lot of armed police to London just because of both a terror and a crime sort of thing. But in rural areas, like where I am, you never see armed police unless they're called out. Bit like I said, you never see normal police, because they'd never be patrolling in, random villages or whatever. Oh, cool. Good to see you, Mike. I sent you a Twitter message. I don't know if you replied, because I've got my phone on airplane mode now, so I don't get any buzzes that distract me during the stream. But I said I hope your sister's wedding went alright and everything. I hope that was good. I suppose you can cut your hair now, can't you? And I suppose you want to do it when you're hungover, but I suppose as soon as you're feeling up to it, I'm going to be cutting my hair in the next couple of days, because it's not even long at the moment, but it's still bloody irritating. Yeah, thank you, Corey. The likes so far are pretty good. It's 34 likes at the moment to 36 views, which is pretty good. Yeah, I've met some, at Dungeness Nuclear Power Plant, I met some of the nuclear constabulary, whatever they're called, and there's a bloke who goes on Weapon Collectors streams quite a lot, who was ex-army and then armed police. Used to be called Glow-in-the-Dark Cop, and he's called Glow-in-the-Dark Bus Driver now, if I remember right. And he seems a really nice bloke. And saying, the nuclear constabulary blokes we met when we were at Dungeness, they just came up for a chat because they were patrolling, and they hadn't seen anything, and they just wanted somebody to talk to. They weren't power tripping at all, they weren't waving their guns around or whatever, they were proper nice people. But the thing is, you get a lot of people who do emergency service jobs, and they're really decent people, because they want to do it because they actually want to help people, and they kind of enjoy the line of work, not because they want to do it as a power trip. But, you get people who power trip in any line of work. I'm sure anybody who's worked any job will have had managers or supervisors with any kind of job that, a power trip or, don't use their authority properly, but that's just a thing with people, human nature, isn't it? Yeah, PCSOs aren't even proper police though, are they? Right, have fun, historical European swordsman. Have fun with your family as well. Have a good time. Yeah, but you can be fired by a manager, can't you? I mean, PCSO can't even actually arrest you, can they? They can only do a citizen's arrest because they're not even proper police. Out of all of them, Corey, the most respect I have for emergency services are firemen. I mean, fire women as well, technically, but the majority are men, aren't they? Because, again, I know a guy who's a firefighter. He's a really nice bloke, really friendly, really nice bloke. And in general, firefighters seem to be one of those things where their entire job seems to be just saving people, basically, and not, doing anything that could be taken advice, and paramedics and everything. But I don't want to sound like a dick, but the actual emergency services I have the least respect for in the UK probably are the police. But that's not for any particular reason, it's just more of an anti-authority thing, I think. But whereas the fire brigade or something like that, they are literally there to protect people, put out fires and cut you out from car crashes and things like that. They're there more to rescue people than anything else. Yeah, again, private security kind of things as well, Shot Zombie. I'm going to be completely honest with you there, I totally agree. Where the security guards where we work are fine, but I don't chat with them much, because I think the security guards where I work are mostly there kind of out of hours. So you only bump into the security guards where we work, and again, they're polite enough to the actual staff, are the ones where, if you're finishing your shift and you're a bit late finishing, they just sort of want to know what time you're going out the building so they can lock up and then kind of patrol it. But yeah, I've certainly in shopping centres and things like that, shopping malls, I've met a lot of, dickhead security guards who are ones that, rent a cops, yeah. And no offence to anybody who does a private security job, like that, as a proper person, but, there are certainly, yeah, you're definitely right on that, in terms of, like, people who act like they're police, and you can't do this, you can't do that, and they're literally there to prevent people from stealing stuff or whatever, yeah. I am not going to get into any of the politically correct nonsense, with man and women. If they do if anybody does the job, like if they're gay or straight, whatever, colour of their skin, man or woman, if they do any of these sort of jobs and they can do it properly, I have absolute respect for them. But, I'm not going to get into the politically correct thing of, using the right gender pronouns or anything like that. Sorry if that offends anybody, but I really don't care. Because I think that's a proper way of doing it, like I said. I have no problem with anybody as long as they're a decent person. Yeah, that's cool, Corey. Like I said, I don't have any problem with most people who want to be cops. I'm sure they have good reasons, but I'm just saying I've just had experiences, Well, I said I've not even had experience with real cops, sort of man, anyway. Not much kill strike. Was acting Thursday and Friday night, so tired from that. I've been at work this weekend, so tired from that, but I've got enough energy to do a stream. Let's keep the religious stuff out of the streams, please, Avon. As said, no religion or politics. As said, I don't mind anybody as long as they're a decent person. Don't know what you're on about there, Peach. Why would I steal bread if I was going to steal anything? No, what sort of videos does he do, Niam? You might have said before and I've probably just completely forgotten. I've met some really good policemen, actually, in other countries saying that, to Jokel. When I went to the Czech Republic, we needed to ask directions, and we asked a cop, and, he could speak very good English, and I think he was quite happy that we were speaking to English people that, weren't there for just binge drinking, essentially. Because obviously a lot of English people go to the Czech Republic for, well, not just English, Brits in general, for, like binge drink kind of stag sort of do type things, and we were there and we wanted to visit like a palace kind of castle place, and we were just asking for directions, and he was really happy, even though he couldn't speak any Czech, that it's one of those things that oh look, there's a foreign tourist that's actually being respectful kind of thing. So yeah, no problem, Avon. It's just when you get down that rabbit hole, it can turn quite nasty quite quickly of people going into all the religion and politics stuff. Right, there's one, sadly I don't have it there anymore, I'm keeping it in my car boot now because it's practical. Right, so, when you say half face mask, do you mean like little dust mask or any kind of half face respirator? Because the really good one I bought recently, I think it was called the Alpha Mesh, and it's like a dust mask, but it keeps a really good seal to your face because they've got like a rubberized kind of mesh on the front. And it's got an exhale valve as well, and it's got a top strap and a neck strap with a clasp on it. So it's got a proper strap system, but it keeps tight to your face because it's got the rubber mesh seal on it. So that one is really good. So if you wanted to spend like £5 on a disposable mask that you wouldn't have to throw away, the Alpha Mesh ones are good. In terms of proper half-face masks, there's 3M and loads of other brands that do half-face masks, and they'd all be perfect. Because for hay fever you just need a particulate mask. The Soviet and modern Russian Y2K respirators, although they're only P1, they're very good as little half-face masks as well. Again, the straps could be a bit better on them, but they at least make a good face seal to the face. Let me Google that one, Nazi, because without actually looking it up, I won't. The problem with 3M is they use loads and loads of model numbers, don't they, rather than giving their masks actual names. Oh, I know that one, but I've never used them, because they have, like, the particulate filter, don't they, that goes in, like, that little tab on the front. And then there's, like, the grate on it. Yeah, I have no idea what they're like. I imagine they'd work quite well, but I've never tried that one. The 3M ones I've used are the ones that have the back clasp, and then the kind of skull cap head harness, and then they have the two filters at the side. And I've got a proper 3M 7500 silicone mask, and I've got a Chinese rip-off of a 3M 6000, I think it is, and that's alright. The Chinese one has the straps done in a bit of a weird way. If they copied the 3M straps exactly, it'd be better, but otherwise it's a perfectly fine mask. I've got a deactivated M72 RPK from Yugoslavia, Zawadi, or Zawadi, however your name's pronounced, but I don't actually have like an authentic Russian or Soviet AK-47 or AKM or whatever. No, I don't look at many memes, full stop, Avon. If somebody ends up sending me them, I look at them, but a lot of the time I'm just like, meh. You know, if people want to make pro or anti memes of me, I don't really care, to be honest. I'm not like one of those people that gets like, oh, I'm gonna get a lawyer because somebody made fun of me on the internet. Who cares? You know what I mean? I don't know if you've read many of those cases, but they're always hilarious, where somebody gets offended over a joke on the internet and then ends up trying to hire lawyers, and it always turns into a massive shitstorm. But you know, I just don't care, to be honest. That sounds very interesting, Niam. I have to try and remember, but as I said, the best thing for you to do is comment his channel name on a regular video, not a stream, and just say, I mentioned this in your stream, this is his channel, or whatever. Then I'll remember to check it, but the problem is, because there's so much going on in chats and streams, I always forget. It's at 28 degrees now. I always forget to look up these things afterwards. Alright, cool, that's quite an old video now, isn't it, Daniel? But, yeah. But I've not got more since doing that one in terms of deactivated guns. I've got more air guns now and stuff, and that, but I don't have more deacs, just because deacs now are getting stupidly expensive for something that you can literally not move the charging handle on or anything. So I'm a lot more interested in like replica air guns now, just because you can actually get some fun out of shooting them, and they're generally cheaper. Yeah, the M1 carbine's really nice, isn't it? The M1 carbine's one of my favourite World War II guns, because I think when the Americans, I'm looking at it right now because it's on the wall there, but you can't see it because it's behind the webcam. When the Americans designed the M1 carbine, as much as you can argue maybe it could have been in a better calibre, it's a really lightweight and practical rifle for what it was designed for. You know, to be kind of a rear echelon rifle, or a lightweight rifle for like paratroopers and things like that. But it surprises me because the M1 carbine, despite the wood furniture on it, still weighs less than some like more modern replica firearms I've held, or like, you know, modern firearms. Right, where I bought them from, Mad Goblin in the UK, which were very good, was a site called Powpacks. And what they do is, because the UK airgun law means that you have to buy it face to face, what they do is they send like a registered firearms dealer or something in a van to your house. So they check your ID and do all that. Although you buy it online prior to that, you know, they won't hand over the guns till they've done that, but they arrange a delivery slot with you, so obviously you can say, I'll be in at this time on a certain day, and then they can work around that. And I think it's about £18 or £19 for that delivery service, and their prices are pretty good on their website as well. So if you buy a few different guns at once and bits, you're only paying once for the delivery, but you get them all done like that. Yeah, and I'm saying the M1 carbine is very good at what it was designed for. Like I'm saying, you can argue that maybe they could have come up with a better cartridge for it, but the 30 carbine round's perfect for what it was, really. You know, less than 200 yards, sort of more than the pistol, less than the rifle round. I don't have any digital Flecton. I've got conventional Flecton, and I've got a load of other camos, but I don't have any digital Flecton. Yeah, thank you, some guy. Yeah, I will shill my merchandise now. If you're interested in merchandise, there is a Teespring link below. You can buy it from there, and it supports the channel because I get a little bit of money from every time you buy it. They ship to most places in the world, and it's not just mugs, it's shirts and stuff as well. Oh, and I spoke to Bart, and I think he's going to try and get round to drawing kind of an asbestos parody thing that will be on posters and shirts. And when he's done that, I'll definitely buy a hoodie with it on, and probably a GP5 mug, so I can wear it in videos and have a bit more brand recognition for that. The best red dot sight, well, I've had a couple, Peach. The best red dot sight I've actually had, although it's that dovetail mount, it's not like the modern rail, is a Daisy one that's designed to fit on the Red Rider. And the battery's off at the moment, so I can't show it you on. But I've got it fitted to one of my crossbows, and it's a really good sight, actually. Like, although it's a bit clunky to set the red dot, you set the red dot using Allen keys. Once you've got the red dot set on it, it works really well and it's really cheap, you know. It's a no-frills red dot sight and it just works. And it can handle airgun recoil and like spring airgun recoil, which is great as well because some more expensive red dots can't do that. The thing is with replica masks, is a lot of replica masks cost stupid amounts of money for what they are. I do not see the point in paying £100 for like a very cheap replica. You know, when you can buy actual surplus masks from lots of nations that would work for like £20, and then lots of replicas are £100 for a non-functional mask. It's like, what's the point, really? No, I don't have Battlefield 5. What World War II games have I played fairly recently or semi-recently? Let me have a look. Red Orchestra 2 and Rising Storm. I swear there was another more recent World War II game I bought that I played a bit of. I can't even think what that is now. It wasn't Rising Storm Vietnam, because that's obviously Vietnam. There's Iron Front, which is like an Arma 2 total conversion standalone game that's set in World War II. It's a bit buggy, but that's alright. But I swear there's something more recent I bought that was World War II and quite good, but I can't even think now. Don't use the green filter, as you know. This name cannot be insulted, but I've always enjoyed a mask. Maybe wash the talc out of it first. Nah, I've got no interest in Bitcoin or crypto. I looked into it a while ago, but it just seemed too complicated for what it was. And the problem seems to be there seems to be lots of vulnerabilities where, you know, like your online wallets or whatever could be hacked. I'm sure if you were really into it, you can prevent all those things, but for somebody like me, I just didn't see the point. Yeah, that's sort of funny. But yeah, I like the Susats kind of big sort of iron post sight, whatever they're called, because I like the kind of retro scopes. I know the Susat's not really a retro scope, it was an 80s scope, but you know, I like those kind of scopes that have the big, to me they seem quite retro, rather than having like a fancy crosshair. They've got you know, just like a big iron post, and I know there's disadvantages to that. And then you can put a bit of tritium or whatever on the very tip of that iron post, and then you've got the you know, like a really good glow-in-the-dark sight. eBay, if you search Soviet poster or like Soviet civil defense poster or civil defense posters on eBay, you'll get loads. That one's a reprint, but you can buy originals. But the only thing is a lot of the originals are quite faded and sort of torn. But if you get a reprint like that, it's like a high quality, high resolution print, you know, of like a very well scanned in one. Do you mean my SS Leto one, Mad Goblin, just from a Russian seller on eBay? They're like £30. Sometimes they've got a bit of postage on them, but they're generally not much. Just type in SS Leto into eBay. I've got that GM54 or whatever it's called, gas mask that's got a West German canister, if that's the one you mean. I don't know if they're rare or not. Yeah, cheers, Mike. So yeah, I've got 3 gas masks on that one, but you can only see the Mark IV on the corner of that one. 2 EO14 canisters, although one's technically an EO14 and one's the East German equivalent of an EO14 that's got a different name, like something K, like the East Germans always put on their stuff. My mini monitor Geiger counter with a bit of radium glass and tritium in there. The Polish DP66M Geiger counter and the Polish radiation alarm, some chemical weapons posters, those postcards, the big civil defence poster, most of the masks from the civil defence poster on the Lee Enfield, the FAO, you know, the swords, some more posters over there. But yeah, I think it looks good now. I'm probably not going to change much on the wall now because I don't really have any more space to shove stuff now. Yeah, £20 if it's sealed from Mark IV isn't too bad. Depends on which one. The SOEX one I was sent for free, but that would be around £100 plus. The radiation alarm was about £40 if I remember right, but that's not really a Geiger counter, it just tells you if enough radiation enters it. It's not really a dosimeter, it's more like just a Geiger counter just for gamma radiation as far as I'm aware. DP66M when I got it, I think was around £50 or £60, but they're a lot more expensive now. The mini monitor one was £145, but it's got an alpha probe on it. So in terms of Geiger counters, my best one is that mini monitor one, because it's got the alpha probe on it. And it can go up to 2000 counts per second, which is really good for a Geiger counter. But again, that's more like a lab spec one. It's not like a military one, it's one that you'd use in a lab for taking accurate readings from different materials. I don't have either Zavvi, and I don't have any sort of preference because I've got no need for EOTechs or ACOGs or whatever. I mean, I know ACOG make the like zoomed in sights, don't they, like the 4x ones or whatever, so I'd say just for that reason a nice optic, but in actual practical reasons I have no reasons for any of those scopes or, you know, fancy military optics. That one, Ian, I got from eBay. There was a seller, and I can't tell you who it was. I think it's called something like K-Bar. Actually, I might even be able to tell you who it was, just because if I remember. Yeah, I found him. Right, let me link you to his eBay store. I can actually link you to the guy I got it from, but here you go. It's a guy I'd load a milsurp in. Some of it at very good prices. And he had lots of different military kind of firing range kind of signs. And that's the one for if you're going into a hazardous area where you might need a gas mask. Like either there's like NBC threats or whatever. I think it's an old Warsaw Pact one, which makes sense because it kind of looks like the GP5, the sign. But yeah, that's just the one to indicate, you know, like there's tanks crossing and explosive signs and all those. But that's just the one that indicates you're going into an area where you may need a mask. Thanks, mate. Still got all those Team Fortress 2 lines stuck in my head. Foul over the G3 any day. I mean, I'd love both, and I'd love firing versions of both, but the L1A1 SLR, the British version of the FM Foul, is one of my favourite rifles ever from history, just because I love, you know, it's that kind of perfect storm of mass-producible, you know, cheap and mass-producible, but actually to a decent quality. Shoots a powerful round. Is kind of idiot-proof, where you have a really hard time breaking a rifle like that. Yeah, sorry Maximus, no idea why that's the case. That's just YouTube. What I do, if you're ever interested, if you go on my community tab, you can bookmark that. I'll do announcements at the times I'm streaming in UK times. So if I say 9 PM, that'll be 9 PM either British Summer Time or normal UK time, like Greenwich Mean Time. And that's just the way I do streams. Not all the time I'll remember to do that, and sometimes if it's really short notice I won't get a chance, but what I do that for is obviously for people who don't get notifications or might just see it any time of the day, they then know what time I'll be streaming to look out for a stream. Sandwich. It sounds more like Arnie, doesn't it, than Heavy Weapons Guy when I said that. Sandwich and me going to kick your ass. But yeah, all the heavy things. Oh, you can't in the UK either, Frosty, other than 22 long rifle you can have in semi if you've got the right license, but everything else is like military and police only. And I think police only have semi-autos actually. When you say a whole kit, what do you mean, like PBF and the satchel and like any other accessories that might come with it? 20 to 30 pounds or dollars? PDF, oh, even less for a PDF. A PDF with the satchel, filter and the inserts, £20 at most, $20 at most, probably in the $10 to $20 range. Because again, they're like completely mass-produced masks. Yeah, $10 to $20 or pounds, some guy. No, the FOW is 7.62 by 51mm. They originally developed it for 280 British, but then America said they'd adopt it if they made it in 7.62 NATO. So FN made it in 7.62 by 51mm, and then America said, lol, we're not adopting it anyway, we're going to go with M14 even though it failed the weapons trials compared to the FOW. So the FOW wasn't even designed for the caliber it's in, but it still works very well, and it, you know, it was renowned for being a very powerful, you know, rifle. Yeah, my GP5M works. I've done a video testing the GP5M and it works. If you've only got, like, not even that long hair, because my hair was probably shaved a month ago, so I don't know how many millimetres my hair is at the moment. It's only going to be like 1 or 2 centimetres. A GP5M will still work fine with that in a GP5. It's only when you get, like, really long, kind of feminine hair that your masks aren't going to seal. Is an EOD suit a bomb disposal suit? I assume a bomb disposal suit would offer you better ballistic protection, but riot armor certainly isn't designed for protection from firearms. All it's designed to do is protect you from blunt force trauma and, like, thrown things. And again, it will stop some very small caliber things, but it's not designed as body armor from, you know, like ballistic armor. It's literally designed to stop, you know, things like knives, truncheons, you know, batons, broken bottles, bricks, things like that. To be fair, the bit where, like, I'd get sideburns, I end up shaving when I shave my face, so every couple of days I always shave that off. You can probably see where it's not too neat a line, or I've just got my shaver and just done that, but... Yeah, Mr. J, if you look below, you'll see there's always a Teespring link, and there's stuff like that. Mugs and shirts and things like that. There's not many designs at the moment, but there will be more when Bart gets around to drawing them. I think he said this week, hopefully, he'll do another one. So I'll pester him this week. Because he gets 50% of the sales, because he's the artist. So it's in his own interest, really, isn't it, to get off his arse and draw some stuff. Liquidators had a whole mix of things, but probably those Russian green NBC suits, were they called something like the OZK suits? I can't remember. But they were like the Russian civil defense and military NBC suits for quite a while. Well, that would work. But any Warsaw Pact rubberized NBC suit would look fine, you know, Soviet gear. I have no idea, Frosty. You'd have to look at Teespring, because it's just hosted through Teespring, so I don't handle the sales directly. I just put the designs on there, then I get a bit of money every time. But I think you can do PayPal and debit and credit cards on there. Well, I don't have a Kar 98. Any rifle, if I could get it in the UK, I'd use and shit hits the fan, but I don't have any of them, so it's a bit pointless question, really. A K98 would be reliable, wouldn't it? But any bolt action would probably be quite reliable. Lee Enfield or a Moss in the Gant, any of them would be good. The other thing I notice a lot in zombie films and anything like that, Zavi, is that they don't lock the hatches down on the tank, which you think would be an obvious thing to do if there were zombies outside. No, I don't have that, Rocks. Yeah, it's just because of surplus, isn't it? Because if you've got warehouses full of stock, you probably just want to shift them. So you don't charge very much for them, just so you can actually sell them. What? In what way? That they were wearing asbestos filters, or that they should have been wearing EO18K filters, which would have also had asbestos in, but been technically the correct filter. But the thing is, if you are literally filming a TV show, and there's a guy maybe filming a 10-minute scene, even if they had to film it a couple of times, you know, at the most, with asbestos filters in from like Soviet-era masks, you're not going to get asbestosis or mesothelioma, or however it's pronounced, from that. The reason I tell people not to use the GP5 filters and that is because whenever you use them, there's a slight risk, and the longer you use it, the more risk you develop or something, so it's not worth it. But for something like a TV show that's going for historical accuracy, it doesn't really bother me that they did that, because, I mean, it'd be nice if the actors knew the risks, but if somebody said to me, oh, can you be in a film or a TV series and you have to wear a GP5 with a filter on, I say sure. I've probably worn my Soviet filters, you know, unknowingly at the time, for way more time than anybody involved in the Chernobyl filming would have worn Soviet filters. From what I understand, 30-06 is the most powerful of all those rounds, isn't it? But again, any of those rounds would be powerful enough. Unless you were, you know, big game hunting something very specific. If you were shooting them at several hundred yards, as long as you're a good enough shot, it's going to kill anything you hit, isn't it? Because they're all full power rifle rounds. I think a quarter of those miners have already died, Mr. J, but you can understand why they didn't, because it was so dusty and hot down there, that, you know, as much as it would have offered them a bit more protection, they'd still, being sat that close to the reactor, been exposed to horrible amounts of radiation. And, you know, it's just more of a factor that they couldn't breathe properly and all that, so you could understand why they wouldn't bother with the masks. There's lots of footage of the real miners wearing like very cheap dust masks, but again, that's probably just because it was the most comfortable thing they could wear, and it's again not going to give them much protection. I've not shot any slugs because I'm pretty sure you need a firearm section 1 to shoot slugs. I said when I've shot a shotgun before, that was just, I think, birdshot, but that was years ago. Alright, cheers, Mike. Yeah, if you swallow alpha particles, that is very deadly, because the thing is with alpha radiation, because alpha is the least penetrating, if it doesn't get into your body, it's essentially harmless. But once alpha gets in, it's incredibly dangerous, because alpha basically gets stuck in your body. So, things like strontium-90, if that get into your bones, like instead of calcium, it gives you leukemia and stuff like that, because it's... the alpha can't even irradiate other parts of your body, but the bits it gets stuck in, it will never leave, basically. So the half-life of the radiation is going to be irradiating that part of your body non-stop for ages. I don't know, because my Israeli stuff never came with it. Some stuff like that has atropine with it, which is anti-nerve agent stuff. Some civil defence kits used to include thyroid stuff, like what's it called, iodine tablets, stable iodine, to protect your thyroid from radiation. But I really don't know, and I wouldn't recommend swallowing them unless you really know what they do. No, that's just a printout of an old US Fallout Shelter sign, so it's like a scan of an original US one, but it's just when I printed off where I found a picture of somebody had taken a photo of a US Fallout Shelter sign. But he was poisoned with polonium, wasn't he? And polonium is really strong. Out of interest, before I tell you all, does anybody know in the chat why polonium was called polonium? Quite interesting. If I've got any Polish viewers on, they might know. That's giving a bit of a spoiler away. But it's quite an interesting, like, historical story behind why polonium's called polonium. Kidney stones, and I've had them twice, Frosty. Alright, cool. Have fun, Fractal. Yeah, Marie Curie did discover it, and yeah, it's named after Poland. Because when she named it, Poland wasn't an independent country. Poland was still occupied, I think, by Prussia, or I don't know if it was Prussia or Germany at that point. Austria and the Russian empires. So, because obviously Pole was quite nationalistic, she named it after Poland, even though Poland, you know, if you looked on the map, you wouldn't see Poland, because it was occupied by different superpowers at the time. So yeah, it's just an interesting, you know, historical thing. Alright, cool. Yeah, I would not want to be wearing a suit in that sort of weather. At work yesterday, like I said, it was a 33-odd degree day. We were in the pot wash with the dishwasher running. That makes the room really hot. They've at least fixed the aircon now, but the aircon couldn't even cope with how hot it was. And we were under a tin roof as well, you know, like a metal roof. So it was essentially like being in a greenhouse with a dishwasher constantly making the room really hot. So yeah, all of our clothes were stuck to us. Yeah, kidney stones is horrible, and I had it twice. The second time I had it, at least, wasn't as scary, in the sense you kind of know what it is the second time you get it. But the second time I got it was worse in the sense I got them when I was on holiday. It was the first day I was in Finland, like the first full day I was in Finland. I was in Helsinki, and we were meant to be on a coach that day, and I had to keep, luckily there was a toilet on the coach, but I had to keep running to the toilet on the coach, you know, like non-stop, pissing blood. You know, just in agonising pain. I'd say the worst thing about kidney stones, other than the pain, is actually the fact that you constantly feel like you need to piss and you can't piss. Or even if you do piss, it doesn't relieve it, because, you know, you've damaged, like Peach says, your urethra or whatever it's called. You know, because you've essentially had nerve damage done to you, until your body repairs it. You constantly feel like you've got a full bladder, even if you haven't. Yeah. When I was at the hospital the first time with kidney stones, at least they gave me morphine. That's the only good thing. If you go to a hospital, you get morphine for it. And at that point, you know, you're so doped out, even kidney stones don't bother you. But, yeah, would not wish kidney stones on anyone. They are fucking horrid. And I've had them twice. But thankfully, I've not had them since 2016. The first time I had them was 2015, and I had them again in 2016. So I've not had them, touch wood, in nearly 4 years now. So, yeah, hopefully I'm not going to get them again. And after I had them the second time, the doctors took a big urine test thing, you know, like where they got me to wee in like a thing for like a week straight. And they found there was nothing in my urine that would indicate that I should be developing them more than normal, so I didn't need to be putting on anything for them. But I know some people that constantly get them like every couple of years, and man, that must be awful. I don't know exactly. I think there's different types this name cannot be insulted, but basically how it kind of works is it's when, I don't know if it's calcium, but it's stuff like that builds up inside your kidney, isn't it? So like, essentially it's like crystals forming inside you. Avon CT12, and that's the last time you're going to get an answer for that. A couple of $100 or pounds. Is that one you said you were getting for $70? That was an amazing price if you got it for that. I've seen them on eBay. I mean, there's several different Czech NBC suits, aren't there? But the funniest one is the Czechoslovakian NBC suit that literally looks like somebody's taped a load of bin bags together. You know, like trash bags. I kind of want one for the novelty, but the problem is NBC suits take up a lot of space compared to gas masks. But, you know, it looked like the cheapest way they could make an NBC suit. Shall we get a load of trash bags and tape them together? Over 100 million, I've lost count. 25 actually, but yeah, I will be 26 this year. Yeah, I do drink a lot more water now, Neo stuff, than I used to, so it could literally just be that I hydrate myself better. But the second time I got kidney stones, I'd really hydrated myself well that day and the day before. You know, like every hour I was having a cup of tea or a coffee or like half a pint of water. So it was probably just really, really bad luck. But I know you can sometimes get them forming slightly, can't you? And you just urinate them out when they're so small. It's not a problem, but it's only when they build up to the point it, you know, causes a blockage and all like the internal tearing, that's when they're really bad. It depends how much you want to spend close up. If you're willing to spend a lot of money, any current grade military one that's like not even officially surplus, but you know, it's just been sold off the back of a van or whatever, like the modern Polish NBC suits and all stuff like that, because it's current military grade stuff. If you want old cheap NBC suits but are still work to a degree, things like the old Polish and East German rubberized NBC suits. I do drink quite a lot of milk though, Mike, but I've not drunk as much dairy in the last couple of years just due to ulcerative colitis. So that might be a factor. But yeah, because there's calcium in milk and stuff like that, isn't there? And calcium is one of the things that can cause kidney stones. That's very interesting. I don't know if it'd be a guaranteed thing. You know, it might be a combination of factors like drinking a lot of dairy and then a load of other things that form the kidney stones. But yeah, it's probably a factor, isn't it? You don't need a full NBC suit for hay fever. You only need a mask for hay fever because it's caused by pollen particulates either being inhaled or I guess getting into your eyes. So just go with whatever gas mask you want. AK-74 is one of my favourite assault rifles, and when I say assault rifle I mean like the small caliber ones, like, you know, 5.56 or 5.45 kind of ones. But yeah, the nice later model AK-74s are really nice, aren't they, in terms of just being a very versatile rifle. I'd love a deactivated AK-74, like a 1-1 replica AK-74, but sadly I've not seen deac ones for reasonable prices, and I've never seen a good 1-1 like airgun replica or whatever. If I was ever going to get into airsoft and ever sort my Ucara out, that would have been the gun I'd have gone for, probably. You know, like a nice Bakelite kind of AK-74 type one, because with airsoft guns, obviously it doesn't matter what the external gun looks like, as long as the internals are fairly decent, because you're basically just wanting something that's an AEG shooting plastic BBs, aren't you, at around 300 to 350 FPS. So I wanted just a really nice looking AK-74 for that. Don't do anything illegal or stupid, Rox, you're just incriminating yourself. So somebody said, what was the most painful thing I ever experienced? Aren't the later FAMASs meant to be quite good, but weren't the early ones, like, couldn't they break if you shot proper 5.56 through them, because French 5.56 was really under pressured or something like that? I don't know how true that is, but I heard the FAMAS, like most bullpup rifles, had loads of teething problems when they first introduced. You don't need to spam the question, but to answer your thing on how a drinking tube works on the gas mask, it's either gravity or like a pump, depending on the model, but generally you connect your canteen to it, and it's generally a connector that, you know, only works when you've put the connector in. So it's got, you know, like a little valve in the connector. And then you hold generally the canteen up higher than the mask, so gravity means the water flows from the thing and through the tube, and then you can suck on the straw inside to help pull it through a bit more. I've played Fallout 4, I've not played it in ages, but I have got Fallout 4. Let me tell you how many hours I've spent in Fallout 4. According to Steam, anyway. The original Fallout I've played 6 hours of, because I could never get into it. Fallout 2 I've played 4 hours of, because I can never get into it. Fallout 3 Game of the Year edition, this is only the PC version, because the console versions wouldn't be recorded on this, I've played 91 hours of. Fallout 4 I've played 151 hours of. Fallout Tactics I've played 40 minutes of. Fallout 76, I don't know how many hours I've played of that, because it's not on Steam, so it doesn't record my hours. Fallout New Vegas, 150 hours, and I've played more hours of that on consoles as well. So Fallout New Vegas is the winner out of all those, and it is the best Fallout game still. I don't actually know what the SGP mask is without looking it up, so let me do that. Oh, the 4A1, is that? The Israeli 4A1. Yeah, the 4A1's pretty decent, especially if you're getting it for like $30 or less. Which particular sword the minions, because they're not all from the same place. So ask me which sword it is in the background and I'll tell you. Yeah, New Vegas is definitely the best Fallout game in my opinion, because it stays true to like a lot of the lore and everything of the original Fallout 1 and 2, but it obviously is on a more modernish sort of game engine. I mean, it's still buggy and everything and wasn't properly finished, but you know, in terms of like the amount of content in it and how accessible it is to play as a new person, it's very good for that. Right, I'm giving you a timeout, some guy. You do it again, you're getting blocked, because I've already answered you and you've been spamming that in the chat. Let me Google it, because I don't know what that is, Frosty, off the top of my head. The only thing coming up is like some sort of fetish thing, which I have no interest in. It looks valve-wise, just because I'm kind of interested in it, like, from the valves. I'm trying to work out if it's like an actual gas mask underneath that they've stuck a fetish hood over. Oh no, it's going onto the site. I don't want to go onto the site. It's going to be in my search recommendations now. But I don't know. It looks like they've actually got a proper mask and they've stuck something on it. Like, sadly, I can't work out what the mask is from that. It's a bright orange cover on the one I saw. Some of them not, because yeah, the original Fallouts were made by Black Isle, weren't they? Or Interplay, or whatever it was. And New Vegas was made by Obsidian, but Obsidian had a few of the people working for them that did work on the original Fallouts. So yeah, it's not the entire original team, but it had got some of the people in there, and like Obsidian is a very good game developer. Because Obsidian's one of those weird developers where they don't seem to really make their own original games, but they seem to do sequels to other people's games and then make a better sequel than the original, like Knights of the Old Republic 2 and everything else. It stops people commenting on the stream for like 5 minutes or something, Daniel. So generally, rather than blocking people, I give them a timeout first as a warning if they're spamming the chat or something. Then if they start, you know, messing about in the chat again, once they've had a timeout, they can just get a block, because obviously they're not here to have a good chat with people on the stream. They're only on here to annoy people. Did anybody mention which sword they were on about in the background? No, I've already got plenty of NBC suits in me, I don't need to buy another. Where do I get my filters? eBay, Amazon. Quite often, I've found, sometimes, this is the funniest thing, sometimes when you buy a mask, you end up getting an in-date filter, like that's sealed and everything, bundled in with it, and they're the ones I always put into storage. Because quite often if you look for filters separately, they're very expensive, or they've not got very long on the expiry dates. Where sometimes I'll end up buying a mask, and then I'll get like a foil wrapped filter in it where you can see the date on it. You're like, oh, I've still got an in-date filter of that mask, and it didn't even cost me anything extra because it came with a mask. I've never actually been fishing, funnily enough, because sadly in the UK, like everything else, unless you're fishing on private property, you need to buy a fishing license. I'm not making this up. I don't think it costs too much, but I would never want to pay a license for something like that, and you know, plus all the things with bait and fishing rods. Sword next to katana, what, the arming sword? That's technically a Hanway / Tinker Pierce early medieval sword, but I think I bought it from one of the UK places like Night Shop or something like that. I can't remember what exact one is, but it's a Hanway sword if you look it up. More than one place will sell it. Most of the Chinese gas masks they have are surprisingly good, at least the Chinese military style ones. Some of the Chinese industry masks are really, you know, off on quality. Like, some are good, some are bad. But Chinese military masks are generally very good. I'm assuming it was just somehow pressurised very well, that the charcoal in it hadn't absorbed anything. That would be my only guess. That would be literally my only guess, Bartos. But the only thing is I wouldn't use an old filter like that because, you know, they obviously contain blue asbestos and stuff like that. Yeah, that's the arming sword, as I just said. I think he had a license to kill, Nazi. That's interesting, Daniel. Didn't know that. I've never heard of Tank Fest, but is it like where they do... I've seen things like the Russians do, where they have people competing in different tanks. Like different nations with like all T-72s or whatever it is that are painted different colours to do like obstacle courses and that. Is that Tank Fest or is that something else? Or is Tank Fest just like a big kind of festival where like loads and loads of people take their tanks or whatever? As I've said before, my Polish Fu-1 suit would be my go-to suit at the moment, just because it's relatively new still, and, you know, it's quite comfortable, and it's actually got a camo pattern on it. But in terms of, like, long-term use for an NBC suit, the one where I'm using the top half of a Polar Shell 1 suit in my fishing waders, just because that'd be the most durable thing I've got. Well, I'm not going to explain it again, some guy, you have to watch the stream back later. Israeli Type 80 filters are very good from what I remember. As long as it's in date, you know, obviously still working, it's at least ABEC 1, it might even be ABEC 2, or it might be something like ABE2, K1, P3. So it's basically a proper military CBRN filter just supplied on a civilian mask. Yeah, it was good, Amir. I think we had 60 to 70 odd people come on the first night, and we were meant to have 100 and something on the second night, and then it ended up being like 90 odd because a few people had to cancel coming. But yeah, quite a good turnout. We had good fun doing it. I'll finish the stream in a minute because it's been an hour and 5 minutes at the moment, and my room is now 28.4 degrees Celsius, so I really need to open the door and everything in a minute. Oh, yeehaw! Yeah, the problem is, you know, obviously I can't tell if somebody's spamming the message over and over, if it's a problem with their internet connection or they're doing it to be annoying. So I don't want to actually really block somebody because it's an internet problem. They're saying that's why you got a timeout first, so luckily you didn't end up spamming it again after the timeout, even if it wasn't intentional, because otherwise you just got a block. It's not going to be pronounced anything like it's spelt, but I guess Zolk, but it's not going to be pronounced nothing like that, is it, because of all the accents over it general. You'll have to just do like a banana oil test all around your hair, or like your, you know, the mask line or something using banana oil. See if it works. £20 or so, £20 or dollars, depending if it has the bag and everything, a bit more. But depends if it's the V2 or V3. I think technically the V1 M61 is worth the most because it's the rarest. Because as far as I'm aware, Finland went into the V2 production pretty soon after getting the license for the M9s. So the V2 is probably the best in terms of quality. I mean, I know the V3's got the voice diaphragm, but the voice diaphragm, as I said before, is actually a weak point in the mask. But the V2, you know, is my favourite of all those, and it was the first gas mask I ever got. It depends what it's being exposed to. Filters definitely work, if they're sealed properly, filters definitely work longer than their expiry dates, because the expiry date, like with a food best before date, is just put on there to kind of cover the company that makes them. Because if they put if they put longer expiry dates on it than it would actually work, somebody used that and died or was seriously injured, that company could be sued, you know, have the shit sued out of them. So basically, when it comes to mask expiry dates and filter expiry dates, the expiry dates are much shorter than what it will actually last for. But there's no real way of knowing. It's indefinite, really, an actual filter's expiry date. Some filters may last decades, others might, you know, only last a few months after the expiry date. But the better a filter is sealed, the longer it's going to last. Like the filters that are sealed with a cap at the top and the bottom, and then like vacuum foil wrapped, are going to last longer than just a filter that's like sealed in a plastic bag, like some filters are. Sadly, I don't know Neo stuff, because there aren't really many masks that will work at all with glasses, because of how the seals work. For a rural area, it depends if it's going to be like arid or woodland or whatever. If it's woodland, Flectarn, SS Lito, 195 DPM. If it's arid, something like British MTP. No, I'm not going to stay on till 10 because that would be 50 minutes away and it's already 28.4 degrees. And I've been at work 8 hours today, 8 hours yesterday, and acting Thursday and Friday. I'd say get it in and see if it works. You can always put like Vaseline or something on your hair, which should make an airtight seal. Because I think Sikhs in the British Army do a thing, and I imagine in the Indian Army as well, where because they don't shave their beards off for like religious reasons, they can wear a mask, but they have to put like Vaseline on their beard or something, so their mask makes an airtight seal with the beard. I wouldn't really recommend that for most people, because if you have to put the mask on in an emergency, you're pretty screwed. But in theory, you can get a mask to work with longer hair, it's just more complicated. In theory, Alexander, yes, because that's what like the pH hood it was. It was soaked in like phenite, whatever it was called. But again, soaking a hood in chemicals and putting on your head might massively damage your skin or your eyes, so I really wouldn't recommend it. But in theory, it should work, yeah. Avon CT12 is my favourite gas mask, but it's not necessarily the best gas mask, it's just my favourite. Oh yeah, sorry, I thought it was like an hour earlier then for some reason, but yeah. Let me Google it, because off the top of my head I can't remember what pattern that is. Because there's so many Russian camo patterns, especially ones where they've just got other nations' camo patterns and given it their own name, even though they've just stolen it. Which it doesn't bother me, really, but... Ah, so that's the one that's kind of like yellow and green. Like the floral sort of yellow and green one. I think it would work, but I don't think it's as good as SS Leto. Because it's sort of like SS Leto, just with 2 colours rather than 3. And I think having the brown pattern in SS Leto as well makes that work better. It wouldn't be a bad pattern for woodland or something, it's just not outstanding, you know, it's mediocre. It should work well if you conceal yourself, like all camos do, but I don't think it would, you know, work amazingly. Well, I'm biased to say the SAS, aren't I, because I'm British, but yeah, I don't even know all that much about the Navy SEALs, to be honest. No, I'm not in the army. There's your answer. Yeah, I really like British MTB camo because, again, it seems to work well enough everywhere that if you just had to pick one camo, it would work well enough. I'd say more restricted unless something massively changes here. Can you afford a Polish MP5 filter? Sorry, FP5 filter. If you can't afford an FP5 filter, you've got a couple of options. You can try and buy a Chinese hose on eBay, hope you get a normalised hose, and then if you get one that's normalised at both ends, you'll get one end that fits your mask, and then the other end you can put a NATO filter on it. If you don't, you can try and buy a Chinese military filter if you can find one for a good price, and that should fit, because China still use GOST from what Hype said for military stuff. Or, if you want to play it a bit risky, you could get something like a Polish MS4 filter, which is certainly safer than a GP5 filter, but as I've never seen lab reports on them, I don't know if they're actually 100%, you know, safe and don't contain asbestos or whatever, but I certainly trust it more than the GP5 filter. You've got a few options, but again, it depends. How much is your long-term health worth? But not for replica firearms, because our laws are weird like that. Alright, see ya. No, what's that, Daniel? But I'm going off in a minute anyway, so you have to be quick with your reply. Which gun? The Minion. The ones in the background are deactivated but real. That's cool, Connor. No, I didn't know that, but that's a good feature, isn't it? As long as it's not something that causes like skin damage or irritation. But yeah, if it means that your troops are more likely to survive being in close proximity to like incendiary kind of things, that is good. Oh, that's annoying. Can you get free postage from China? This name cannot be insulted, because if you can get free postage from China, just literally go for a Chinese 40mm hose, just so you can put whatever NATO filters you want on the mask that are safe. I don't even know what that is, but don't give out your personal details on here, Rox. That's interesting. I imagine that would be a bit of a dodgy area, because as much as it's a table, you're kind of saying to the police, oh, I'm keeping something by my bed that's like a bat and a shield. I do know what you mean now without even Googling it. I've seen pictures of that before where there's a guy like that with it, yeah, in like a promotional picture. But no, I think that'd be a bit dodgy, because as much as I think that's quite a cool thing, you know, a table that turns into a baton and a shield, that's in very grey areas in the UK, and I imagine they would properly do you for that if they wanted to, if you hit somebody. Right, let me see, before I end the stream, this will be the last thing I do on the stream. This name cannot be insulted, so goodbye to everybody. Once I've got you your link, I'm going off. I'll find one on a link for you. I'll do eBay. Is there a Canadian eBay? Is it like ebay.ca? Is that Canadian eBay? Yep, that is it. Oh, good, I got that right. Okay. Let me see if I can find it. I'm just going to search 40mm hose to start with. Right, I found one. Here we go. I'm going to give you a link. In Canada. There you go. There's your link. That's the 40mm style hose that I've got. I just hope it ends up being normalised like my one is, but it looks identical to my one. And it is $8.99 US, making it apparently $11.75 Canadian dollars with free shipping from Hong Kong and Taiwan. So there you go. There's the thing that should fit your GP5 or GP5M fine and should let you put NATO filters on the other end. Right, anyway, good night to everybody. Thanks for the stream. Hope you've enjoyed it. It's been quite good, even though it's 28.5 degrees Celsius here now. So, yeah, see you everybody, and good night.